Hello viewers, I'm Maurizio Morini and I'm a teacher at the Nocera Umbra School, which takes part with you on the CLIL for CH Erasmus Plus project. Let me tell you first that I'm not a professional broadcaster. I'm just a teacher who will try to give you some useful information for your own digital story. It's a collection of still images next to each other that give the impression of movement, but it is still images. They can be drawings, they can be photos, they can be images from the internet, they can be cut out from magazines. There are many options of what a still image can be. But when we put them in a video, it can be a bit boring to just see a slideshow of images. So we just put a little bit of zoom or a little bit of movement on it. You might ask, why don't we use a video instead of still images? Well, first of all, a still image can say a lot, and it takes some time for people to realize what the person is really saying with the image. It takes a while to just listen and watch an image. Your brain has to work out and also has to listen. Using still images makes it easier for the viewer to elaborate the content. As a consequence, video, documentaries, and interviews are not digital storytellings. In this process of still images, you should use your own voice instead of someone else's voice, or using voice clips from a previously recorded video. To enhance a certain feeling, you can use music which has to fit with the theme of your video and your story. For instance, if you add a happy song or a hopeful song and the topic is very sad, that will clash and won't work. Again, there are exceptions because sometimes that's exactly what you want. That is, to create this feeling of things that clash together. What it counts when you do storytelling is keep the story simple. Make it very easy to listen and to understand. Digital storytelling is a very useful tool to tell a personal story. Remember, it is very important that you keep the topic close to you and to your group. I can give an example of this taken from our project. We as Italians have to make a digital storytelling on Dante Alighieri, our national best known and important writer. Well, I will not make a story based on historical information, when he was born, why he's famous, where did he live, etc. Not at all. I would start from my personal experience that has to do with echoes. Yes, an echo. That sound that comes back when you scream something in a certain place. And you know why? Because I was struck about the news of Dante Alighieri that used to come to a mountain in this area, not far from here, where the echoes could be heard very well. For this reason, Dante Alighieri used to come to this mountain to read aloud his commedia and his own verses in order to listen to them with the echo. From that time on, I've learned to listen to myself. When I study or when I'm doing research on something, Dante Alighieri helped me then in this way. So, when you do digital storytelling, try to figure out what is important for you, for your students, and try to figure out what is interesting, what they can talk about, and what would actually be an enhancement to their lives as well, so they can learn and also share their own experiences and stories. In doing this, I connect my experience with other people, and there's nothing better than connecting emotion than a well-told story. And if your story is based on your true experiences and on your emotions, and that represent your values and those things that matter for you, then you can transmit to others. The aim is to get straight to other people's hearts through your own story. You should say, I believe this story is important. This is a story worth sharing because it will interest other people since they get to know from a different perspective. The audience should feel, yes, it was worth listening to it. This is why each digital story must begin with a story circle and where all participants must tell their own experiences about the subject. But this has to do with methodology, and I have just few words about it. In a digital storytelling, there are at least 4 steps. First, choose a story. In our case, CLIL 4GH project, teachers have to think about possible links between subjects chosen, Dante Alighieri, Mileva Maric Einstein, Trajan Vuja, with everyday life. Second step, story circle. That is very important. As soon as they have a story or a subject, you can let them try to summarize this idea in one or some sentences. This is the moment the story circle starts. If the group is too big, you can split it into smaller groups. Let everyone tell where they are with the story and make sure everyone can give some feedback. Digital storytelling first begins with constructing a story. Stories are told in first person and should be structured around a theme. A good story is a story that connects the audience. All stories have a beginning, a middle, and an end. The beginning tells the premise of your story. It sets up the dramatic tension that should hold throughout the story. The middle outlines conflicts along the way. The end is the destination, revealing a small discovery, revelation, insight. Start the story circle with framing how comments should be made. Supportive, respectfully. In many classrooms, this is a challenge and a learning process. Every participant tells his or her story and receives feedback. The story circle can take some time, but it is one of the most important stages in the process. With a good organized story, you guarantee the quality of your digital story. The third step is the storyboard. The storyboard contains guidelines and drawings on how to place each scene in a row. After the rough first drafts are written down and the participant has some feedback on his or her story during the story circle, he or she can play with how the story is structured. We can use a 6-frame storyboard for most of our projects, although it can easily be more or less depending on the length of the story and the time our digital story sessions last. During this stage, we don't necessarily work with images yet. We ask the participants to split up their text in chapters and rewrite each chapter of their text in one of the frames. For a storyboard, you can use one of the templates I will show at the end of this video. And the fourth step is create a video. To do this, you need the software. You can use iMovie, Apple, very easy to manage, or DaVinci, it's a Microsoft software. More professional but a little more complicated to manage. I definitely suggest using iMovie. Bear in mind that a video should not last more than 2.5 minutes. This is very important. I hope this tutorial has been useful for you and that you enjoy making your own digital storytelling. Well, thank you for watching this video and goodbye.